Hello YouTubers! So today we're going to talk about the North American Arms Pug. As you can see, we've got a couple of great ones here, a couple of good specimens. North American Arms, cool company. They're a little company based in Provo, Utah, and they make some really excellent firearms. They make revolvers like these. They have a couple of different lines. They even make a black powder revolver. That's kind of fun. They make everything from a 22 short, which I mean is just tiny. In fact, it's so tiny that it can fit in a belt buckle. They make a belt buckle holster for it, and you slide the gun into the belt buckle. That small. To a 22 LR, which is very popular, to the 22 Magnum, which is what we've got here. They also make semi-automatic guns that are fantastic. A little on the heavier side, a little more on the pricey side. They have some really fantastic automatic Colt round ones. I think they have some 380s and some 32 ACPs and just fantastic stuff. What I want to focus on, of course, is the revolvers. The revolvers, I think, are the best bang for your buck from North American Arms. They are super concealable, which is kind of the point of these small guns. There are a lot other options out there for semi-autos, but the revolvers, they just don't make them like this anywhere else. You've probably seen a Derringer, which is similar in size, but they're taller, they're thicker, they're usually heavier, and the vast majority of the time they only carry 2 rounds. Now, some people say, yeah, you know, they carry like a 45 auto in a lot of cases, or a 45 long Colt, or some even do a 410 shotgun shell. But they only have 2 shots. So if you miss the first few times, well, you're out of luck. These hold 5, which is enough for a emergency situation. So fantastic company. They make these particular types, the Pug. These ones are the shortest with a 1-inch barrel. They make a Black Widow, which is the same frame, which is just a little bit longer, and then a Mini Mag, which is even longer with the same frame. Well, the Pug is what I like because it's super concealable, and that's kind of the whole point. You'd have such a small gun anyway. You know, when I go out to work in the morning, or I'm just leaving the house, and I'm wearing like something nice, like a suit coat, or I'm wearing basketball shorts, I don't want to carry around my big Glock. I don't want to carry around my Springfield. I don't want to strap a 1911 on my hip. Where the heck am I going to put it? But I still want to be armed, just in case. If you carry, you should carry every day. This takes away that excuse of leaving your gun at home. You can slip these into your basketball shorts and you forget it's there. I mean, it's so small. For comparison, here's a Glock 26, which a lot of people carry. This is considered a very small gun. I mean, I can only get my 2 fingers on there with my pinky hanging off. And, you know, this is something a lot like what I carry every day. But even this is a monster compared to these guns. I mean, just look at that. They are teeny. But they do pack a punch. You know, people say, oh, well, 22, that's not enough for a self-defense situation, and I disagree. Obviously, it's not the ideal, but it'll definitely get the job done in an emergency situation. The first rule of a gunfight is, of course, to have a gun. So if you left your big gun at home, well, you're out of luck. But this one you can always have. And believe it or not, these little 22 Magnum rounds, if you use the correct ammo, specifically Hornady Critical Defense that's been designed for such short barrels, it puts out the same amount of pounds of force and the same velocity as a 380 ACP. Pretty impressive stuff. You know, these rounds are designed to burn up all of its propellant, or as much as it possibly can, in that tiny 1-inch barrel to make up for the short weapon. If you use a round that's designed for a rifle, like for varmint hunting, you're going to have far less velocity and less pounds on target than if you were to use rounds that are designed for these little guns. But luckily, due to the technology advances in ammunition nowadays, these can be very, very deadly weapons. A lot of people use these for backup. Sometimes I use them for backup, sometimes I use them as my primary carry. Like I said, when I'm carrying basketball shorts. Sure, I'll have a bigger gun in the car, but on me, I'll always have something. So, fantastic little gun, even though they're really, really small. One of the best parts about this gun is people worry about carrying revolvers because sometimes they feel they're unsafe. And what I mean by that is, like, have you ever seen in the old westerns, they carried like a Colt 45 Army. They had 6 rounds in the cylinder, and when the hammer was down, like that, the hammer was down on a round. It was actually sitting on top of the bullet, just sitting right there on top of the round, ready to go off. So if you bumped it too hard or you dropped the gun, it would go off. But North American Arms figured out a really cool, innovative way to get around this. If you look real careful, you can see that they have notches in between each of the rounds. And the hammer, you can actually, since it's a spade hammer designed to hit the primer on the end of a 22 round, it'll sit in one of those things. So you just take a little pressure off the cylinder and turn it so that you're on one of those notches, drop the hammer, and now the cylinder is locked in between 2 rounds. So even if the hammer gets hit, even if the trigger gets pulled, nothing happens. These are single action only, so no matter if you pull the trigger, no matter if you bump it around, whether it's jiggling around in your pocket or whatever, it won't go off. It takes a fairly large amount of pressure to pull that hammer back to get it to the position where it's going to fire. You'd have to purposefully do that. I don't know if there's a way you could get that to happen in your pocket. Of course, I'm sure now that I said that, somebody will tell me and say, oh yeah, I had that happen to me and now I'm missing part of my leg. Thanks a lot. Well, be responsible, be careful. You can use a holster with these. They make Kydex holsters, plastic holsters, little leather holsters like this. This is actually my buddy's gun. He carries it with this little tiny grip that it comes with from the factory in this little leather holster in his pocket. And that works really, really well for him. However, I've got big meat hooks, so when I hold it with this grip, I can only get one finger on there. And the grip just kind of sits on my other 2 fingers. And when I took it to the range, I could still shoot it, but it wasn't very controllable. And I felt like, if I'm going to carry this thing, I've got to be able to really, really use it well. So this works well for him. But for me, I put on this oversized rosewood grip, which I think is downright pretty. And it allows me to get my 2 fingers on there and really get a good grip on it. And I can shoot this thing really, really well. At defense distances, you can actually be very accurate with this little 1-inch barrel, believe it or not. And of course, you can buy these from North American Arms. These are designed for that gun. This is not a custom build. These are actually pretty affordable. They come in all different types. You can even get imitation pearl grips for this. They even make what's called a grip holster for these guns, where the grip folds in half like a knife. And then you open up the gun and it clicks and it becomes a grip as well as its holster. You can open a little gun up like a knife. You never thought you'd be able to see that. And then, like I said, they have holsters that range everything from a belt buckle to shoulder holster to ankle holsters to even ones that you can just wear around your neck almost like a necklace, which is amazing. You can pull that off with these little guns. Pretty cool. As far as cost and availability go, this particular type with the tritium night sights, I think was just a hair over $300. They are a little bit harder to find than some of the other guns you can get from North American Arms, just because they're so desirable. I remember I bought one years ago, and then I sold it in a moment of weakness. And then a little bit later I tried to find one again and I could not find one. It was during that kind of rush on guns when they were thinking about more gun control legislation. And it took me months to find one. And the second I saw one at the gun store, I just bought it. Didn't even think about it, just bought it. And now I'll always hold on to this gun. It's fantastic. But the availability has gone up a little bit more now that the scare has kind of gone away, and they're producing these as fast as they can. One cool thing about this particular gun, besides just the size and the overall concealability of it, is that it's beautiful. I mean, it's just downright gorgeous. I mean, look at that thing. It's amazing what they can do with such a small thing. It almost looks like a piece of jewelry for guys. I hate to say it that way. The only downside to this gun is reloading. To reload it, you have to disassemble the entire firearm. Yeah, so obviously this is, you know, a backup of a backup. You only use this for an extreme situation. This is not the kind of gun you want to take to a gunfight. But to do that, I'll show you real quick, just for those of you who are curious. You have to take the cylinder out of the gun to put the bullets in, or cartridges I should say. So to do that, the hammer has two positions, half cock, which is right there, and full cocked, which is right there. You can see the cylinder turned. So to get it to come off, you put the hammer at half cock, and you pull the takedown pin, which is this little spring-loaded guy you see right here. So you pull that down, pull it out, just like that. And the cylinder just pops out. You got the little frame right there. This is kind of cool because you can, with this frame out, you can dry fire it as much as you want without hurting the gun. You shouldn't dry fire it with the cylinder in there, that'll hurt it. But you can sit there and test to see how many pounds of pressure it takes before that trigger makes a clean break. You can practice looking down the sights with it. Believe it or not, this little thing actually does have some pretty good sights. Very usable. And of course the tritium sight is just downright cool, although I don't know how much use you'll do with it at night. So to load it up, very simple. You just put the bullets in like you would any other revolver, except for the cylinder is completely out. Actually, believe it or not, North American Arms now makes a traditional style revolver. They call it a sidewinder, where the cylinder pops out on an arm, like, you know, 38 Special or Smith & Wesson or something like that. A normal J-frame. So to put it back in the frame, you see you've got to line up that little spade you see there with that little notch. Not the safety notch, but the revolving notch. You put that in there so that it slides into place in the frame. Hold it. Take that firing pin. I shouldn't say firing pin, takedown pin, I'm sorry. Slide that into place and lock it in. And the gun's ready to go. See, now the hammer is sitting on a round. That's potentially very dangerous, but I can pull it back, turn that thing into the safety notch, let the hammer go down, and it's locked in between two rounds. Isn't that fantastic? So now this gun is relatively safe. You put it in your holster. In fact, I must admit, I don't use a holster with this. I put it in my coin pocket. You know that little fifth pocket you see on most jeans above the right-hand side? This slips in there with just the very tip of it sticking out. It just looks like I'm carrying a knife. No one knows it's a gun. I mean, what kind of a gun would fit in a coin pocket? Amazing. When I put it just in my regular pocket, like if I'm carrying basketball shorts, then I'll use a holster. But most of the time it just goes in my coin pocket. Fantastic little gun. So I may or may not do a cleaning video on these sometime down the road if enough people ask about it. But if you have any other questions about North American Arms or about the Pug or anything like that, feel free to leave a comment below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Later we'll do a little bit of a add-on for some of the other guns that North American Arms has. But until then, thanks for watching. Have a great day.